All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Sunday UK Sangha. And I will be hosting the call today as Dhammarato is still recovering. But before we start, he would like to share a message. So go ahead, Dhammarato.
All right. Thank you for so much. In fact, I would like to thank you all that this has been, for the past 8 years, we have been developing the Sangha, and that I wanted to send the message that um, even though I'm in recovery, the mind is still foggy in a cloud, and that I won't be. I will actually, to say it correctly, is that I will be slow coming back. But this is actually an opportunity, and I would like to share that opportunity with you so that each one of you will uh, gain more value in the Dhamma by spending more time in the Dhamma, especially with each other. That the Dhamma is not really Dhamma without the Sangha. And so we've got a new group called One-on-One Dhamma Calls, and that I would like for that group to be used actively for two primary reasons. One is that we still have a lot of new students coming on, and that they need a little bit of guidance beyond what I'm able to give. And so what I would recommend is that all the people who have been around and sharing the Dhamma for the past 2 years or so, or even less, to please take up that slack and to start calling some of these new people that are on the group and to share your Dhamma with them, knowing that the best way, I've seen it in the suttas and I've experienced it myself, the best way to learn the Dhamma, the best way to start living the Dhamma is to start sharing and telling other people about the Dhamma. That will help clarify it for you in your own mind. And that I would like to see you doing that on both Skype and also the website is pretty well stable now. We have friends, we'll have groups. You can share suttas, you can share PDF files, you can share your own ideas, and there's also a field called Tell Us About Your Practice. This would be a good place for you to start keeping a bit of a journal to start tracking your practice. And so I would invite each and every one of you to start doing this. Now, I don't see the guy now. Maybe he's moved on or turned his video off. But let me answer one question that was asked before, and then you guys can discuss it with Daniel's guidance. Daniel's been around for a long time, and I really trust him in the Dhamma. But one guy had asked about concentration. And the thing
Yes,
that
yeah.
we could say to concentrate on is to concentrate on having good, wholesome thoughts. That we don't take a particular object like a sphere or a third eye or a crystal or water gazing or any of that kind of stuff on the outside. Those are the old things. That what the Buddha taught was is to start looking at what your mind is doing and start making changes to the mind. Now, also one more point is that Dietrich had asked about the difference between the inside and the outside. And the easy answer to that is you heard about being, uh, let us say, if you take care of this moment, moment by moment, the future will take care of itself. And if you take care of your mind moment by moment, the outside world will take care of itself. You don't need to be concerned about the outside. That what you need to be is concerned about how you respond to the outside world. And so this is what the practice is really all about. And to respond to each other, to teach each other, to share the Dhamma, and to be awake and aware of what's happening around you, rather than being, let us say, affected by what's around you. That in fact, when you're affected by what's around you, that's the same thing as being infected by what's around you. So don't let your surroundings control you. Rather, you control your own mind so that you can have your own happiness and gain great benefit from the Dhamma. So with that as my message, I would like to hand it back to Daniel, and also to say to each one of you, thank you so much for being my friend. I really enjoy that. I enjoy having so many friends. Thank you for staying in the Dhamma. Thank you for not abandoning the Dhamma. Thank you for continuing with the Sangha, and that I hope that I'll be back in time so that the Sangha doesn't die altogether, but that you guys can keep it together for me. So thank you all. Daniel, I'll turn it back over to you now.
Thank you so much, Dhammarato. So to start and give my personal experience with sharing the Dhamma is about half a year ago. I went on a retreat with the son of Deirdre, and yeah, he had asked me to help him clarify some points about the Dhamma. And when I started preparing that, when I started talking to him about the Dhamma, yeah, I can really say that it really helped me to clarify what I had to do for myself in that particular retreat. So yeah, it really is true that teaching the Dhamma really helps your own practice. And yeah, for the next point, Alejandro, I actually had a screenshot of a sutta ready in my photos, because I thought it was such an interesting explanation on concentration, and I never saw it so clearly explained in any sutta as in this sutta. So I will read a small excerpt from this sutta. It's in the Majjhima Nikaya, and there's a bhikkhuni called Dhammadina, and she is asked about concentration, and maybe a better word is a unification of mind. So the question goes, lady, what is what is samadhi? What is the basis of samadhi? What is the equipment of samadhi? What is the development of samadhi? And here she answers, unification of mind, friend Visakha, is samadhi. So unification of mind means gathering the factors of the first jhana, gathering the joy, gathering the feeling of success, applying the mind to the wholesome, sustaining the mind on the wholesome. And also one other factor that we discussed in a Sangha call not too long ago is one go, or ekagata. And it usually gets translated as one-pointedness. But Dhammarato says this is an incorrect translation, and a better translation is one go, which means to go directly to the wholesome. Don't skip any step, just cool down right now. So gathering together these factors, that is unification of mind. But there's more to say about this. What is the basis of samadhi? What is it built on? And that is, we gather these factors based on the four foundations of sati, of mindfulness. So we gather these factors on the body. We look for the wholesome in the body. We sustain on what is wholesome in the body. We find joy. We find, for example, comfort in the body. We find success in relaxing the body. And we go directly to the wholesome in the body. And we do that also with the other foundations of mindfulness. So we do it for the thoughts. We do it for the mental attitude. And we also do it for the feelings. So those are the basis of concentration. Those are the things that we can sense, the things that we can see, that we develop these factors on. And then the sutta goes on to talk about the four right efforts. And the four right efforts are the four ways in which we develop these wholesome states. So the first we can look at is abandoning whatever unwholesome state has arisen in us. If we see any unwholesome feeling, then we will start by abandoning whatever unwholesome feeling has arisen in us. And then when we have abandoned it, then we go on to preventing them from arising in the first place. So how can we prevent unwholesome states from arising in the first place? Well, that's by having wholesome thoughts. Everything's all right already. Everything's okay. And we've heard many examples on these calls. So we want to give our mind something to do, because if we give our mind a wholesome task to do, then it cannot be in the unwholesome, because the mind can only do one thing at a time. And this is why it's so important to keep applying, keep sustaining the mind on the wholesome. So that's how we concentrate or unify our mind on this right effort. So we've covered the two ways of abandoning and preventing the unwholesome states. And then we also have two ways to develop wholesome states. And that is first by applying our minds to the wholesome. Just starting to have wholesome thoughts. Everything's all right. Everything's okay. We've got nothing to do, nowhere to go. We can just listen to this Dhamma call all together happily. Just have wholesome thoughts. Being happy to be in the Sangha, to share this Dhamma with each other. And then when we've applied our mind to the wholesome, then we want to sustain it again, to keep our minds, give our minds something to do. Because if we let our minds just do whatever it wants to do, then sooner or later it's gonna fall back into the old habits. So we've got to keep it going. And at first it's gonna take a bit of effort, but it's gonna get easier and easier as time goes on. So, and then to end the sutta here, what is the cultivation of concentration or samadhi? The cultivation is the repetition, the constant or ongoing development, and the cultivation of these wholesome states. That is the development of samadhi. So this I find really interesting, that in this sutta it's really, really clear what concentration or samadhi is. You really don't see it explained so clearly anywhere else. And also one other thing that's really interesting that's mentioned here is applied and sustained thought is mentioned here as a verbal formation. This is really interesting because many teachers will say that applied and sustained thought are to apply and sustain the mind on the object of meditation, the object of concentration. For example, they will say, you have to focus on the tip of the nose. That's what it means. It means to apply and sustain your thinking on the tip of the nose. But in this sutta, it's made really clear that no, actually it's a verbal formation. So it actually has to do with thoughts and not with just focusing. So that's one other interesting thing about the sutta. Alejandro, does this answer your question on the concentration?
Yeah, definitely. A lot of information there. But I think, yeah, mainly there's sometimes
Great.
positive thoughts. This could be probably the biggest
Yes.
tool that we can concentration, which is a challenge now.
And is this how you've been practicing it before, or how have you been practicing it?
No. Mainly I have been doing mindfulness on the breathing. So I try to concentrate on the sensation. That has been a bit frustrating, and my concentration is not improved.
Sorry, you mentioned your concentration is not improving. I'm having a little trouble hearing you.
Yeah, sorry, the microphone might not be working well. Yeah, my concentration has been not very, let's say, well, it's hard to say without creating expectations, but not very stable. My attention is not very stable on the breath, and it's a bit frustrating.
Yes. So, yeah, one of the good things to go about it is you don't have to be constantly mindful of the breathing. It's good enough to just come back to it often. So even if you are not constantly aware of the breathing, if you, whenever you remember to come back to the breathing, that's good. And if you can remember to come back to the breathing, then you can congratulate yourself for that as well. So yeah, you can play with that. Deirdre, I see you've got your. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Alejandro.
No, that's thank you. I try to instill positive mindset, appreciation, but it's not easy.
Yeah, that's good. Keep going like that. All right, Deirdre, go ahead. Your microphone is still muted.
Yeah, got it. Yeah, so I think it's really nice that you add like to because I've been also practicing like doing every day 6 times a day, at least 5 minutes concentrating on the breath, and then I find it that I get really easy distracted about when it's really busy and there's a lot to do. It's really and I get all kinds of ideas while doing that. But I think what's a good, what you added now is to keep the mind busy with a wholesome task. I think that's a really nice add to add this, because you had taking time to concentrate on the breath and taking really a break from every day from what you're doing and really trying to be mindful and really to concentrate on what's happening or in me. that's a wholesome task, but more like you are teaching now the Dhamma is also like a wholesome task. You see, so it's like more like a life task that will keep you in the Dhamma, I think. It's really interesting that it's, if you just work and on an office and you don't like your job or whatever, and you just do it because you have to make money or whatever, then then it makes it harder to be living the Dhamma, I guess. So I like the ad that you say, keeping it wholesome, and give it a wholesome task. And what's also interesting is, but about my question about the inner world and the outer world, you said no. The first thing Dhammarato ever said to me is when we talked about doing this, living in the Dhamma, is that he said, nothing to do, nowhere to go, but then spring will come and the grass will grow. So that's not, I have to do anything for it. So there you have the connection between in and out. So I just wanted to make that remark.
Yeah, that's a really good way of looking at it. And Dhammarato actually talks about this quite a lot, as in time structuring. So how do we spend our time? And yeah, I was actually thinking about this today. I was explaining it to Stan, who was visiting. Is that, for example, when I am reading a book, I read books from Bhikkhu Buddhadasa. Right now I'm reading Seeing with the Eye of Dhamma, which is a really good book, right? By the way, I really recommend it for everyone. But the reason that I'm reading this book is not necessarily because I want to gain some knowledge from it. Like, it's a good addition, of course, to what I already know. But the main reason why I read it is because I have to structure my time. When I am having wholesome thoughts all the time, then sometimes I get a little bit tired and I want to go do something else. So one really good way for me to spend my time is to read about the Dhamma. Oh, the leaf blower is behind me. Is it really loud or is it okay? Okay, good. Yeah, so that's a really good way for me to spend my time, is to read about the Dhamma and keep my mind on the Dhamma. And this is also a right effort. Like, we are giving, yeah, I'm giving my mind a task to do that is wholesome. And yeah, especially when you are living like the lay life, and you have a job, then I think it's really important to, yeah, look on the bright side and see in which ways you can make whatever activity you are doing into a wholesome activity. And yeah, one other point that you mentioned about when the spring comes, the grass will grow by itself. This is yeah, this is a really true statement, because if we just keep removing unwholesome states and keep applying us to wholesome states, then yeah, the wholesome states will come. And in the book that I'm reading, Bhikkhu Buddhadasa talks about what the Buddha said about this, and the Buddha said that the mind is naturally very pure, very bright, and very happy. So we don't really even need to make our minds very happy. If we just give it the inclination, if we just apply it to the wholesome, then it will reveal itself, like its true nature, as something that is really already very, very wholesome. yeah, and that's pretty much what I have to say about that. Is there anyone who wants to add something about that? Carl, you always have really good things to say.
Not today. You
Not-
covered it
not
quite
today, just
perfectly. I
listening
feel
in.
like adding on top of it would be like adding 2 cherries instead of 1, you know?
Well, that's a great compliment. Thank you. Let's see. I think, Ben, you had a question about the chi energy, right? Or was that someone else?
Yeah, that was Edward, and he just left about a minute
Ah,
ago.
you just left. Okay, I see. So, actually, it's quite interesting to talk about. I'm not too sure about what chi entails, but I'm guessing that it's about like positive, yeah, bodily feelings. And yeah, I've been playing with this myself as well here on retreat. And what I've really noticed is that yeah, that I saw tiredness as a hindrance, because we often talk about how sloth and torpor, about how this is a hindrance, right? So I was like, I'm trying to remove this tiredness, but I think somehow I probably missed something from the teaching. So I called again with Dhammarato, and I was like, is tiredness like really a bad thing? And then apparently I had gotten it wrong all along. And that it's not really about tiredness, it's more about the victim's attitude of being tired. Like, oh, this costs so much energy. This is so tiring. And that's when I started realizing that, yeah, actually it's okay to be tired. And I can really just lay down and enjoy being tired and enjoy having nothing to do, and that makes it so simple and so easy to relax. So that's what I've been, yeah, playing with over the last week, and I can tell that I've really cooled down because I don't feel the need to meditate in any particular yeah, in any posture, and I'm just getting so relaxed. So that's really good. Deirdre, go ahead.
Yeah, I want to add to that nowadays, since I've heard this before, like tiredness is not a hindrance. It's also sometimes I think it's actually a good thing to be tired, because then I'm not so uptight. I'm not smashing energy in something, because I have to be a little careful with energy. And that makes me also more relaxed to work with, or to get things done in a much easier way, or make decisions like, okay, let's not make an appointment now. I'm tired. Let's lie down a little bit. Let's skip some things. So there's actually also a value in being tired.
Exactly. Like, yeah, basically we have like a rhythm, a daily rhythm of our energy levels. Like, and this is very natural. Sometimes we naturally get more energy because there's things to be done. For example, when we have work to do, then it's good to have some energy. And in the evening, when we are getting ready for bedtime, like our body automatically knows that oh, we've had a long day, and yeah, the night is coming, so there's no more work to be done. And it's really, really nice to like settle into that natural rhythm. And yeah, that's a really wholesome way to live your life. Dhammarato also told me, like, when he was in the hospital, he was like, oh, now I don't have to think about a Sangha call, like people are taking care of that. And I can just lay here and the doctor is ordering me to do nothing and to just chill out, and you know what? I'm just gonna enjoy it. That's all right. Everything's okay. So yeah, I agree. This is a really good way to just enjoy how much energy our body gives us and our mind gives us at any given moment. Thank you for that comment. So David, welcome. I see you've joined. It looks like Kartal is going to be heading to Suamok very soon. So you'll probably be seeing him there.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, he told me he wanted to go to Deepabawan first.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, he actually went there, but he said that there's not much. Yeah, it's not a perfect place to stay for him, so he will be going to Suamok.
Oh,
So
interesting.
probably in the next week. Yeah.
Right. Cool.
Alejandro, go ahead.
Yeah, because sorry, it's windy here, so I'm not sure you're going to hear me okay.
Oh, now it's good.
Okay. So because you touched on tiredness, which is a big thing for me lately, and a good reminder from Dhammarato to not be a victim and complain about it. So that's a good thing. But at the same time, I do get let's say, the urge of fixing it, right? Of, okay, can I change my diet? Can I take something? Can I exercise more? And I think that goes against Dhammarato will tell me, oh, stop that, right? Or don't pursue that. Just be okay with the way things are. But to me, that's very difficult. That's very, very, very difficult to refrain from trying to, okay, I'm tired. What can I do to feel better, right? To not feel so tired and start planning and doing, which implies suffering, of course, because you are not getting what you want. But I find it very difficult to not do nothing about it, right? So how do you think about that?
So one way to think about it is, are you wanting to get rid of the tiredness because you have something to do right now, or because you have something to do later? Because sometimes we will think like, oh, in 1 hour, I'm gonna have to go into the city. I have things to do, so I want to have more energy already. And this is kind of the same thing that Dhammarato talks about when we are laying in bed at night and we're thinking about all the stuff we have to do the next day. And because of that, we're thinking like, oh, I have to go to bed right now because I need to rest so that I have energy later. So that's one thing to look out for. And the other thing, sometimes there's actually some value, I would say, to like changing your attitudes to having more energy. And one example of that would be like your alarm clock goes off, you wake up, and then you have to get out of bed because you have to be downstairs in 10 minutes. And that's a good way to change your attitude, like, oh, I'm tired now, but okay, let's do this. I can do it happily even though I'm a little bit tired. And this is what I really learned in the monastery. Like sometimes I have to get up really early, for example at like 2 p.m. because I have to hit the gong, and I will be like really tired. And if I just change my attitude, then I will have a lot more energy. But yeah, for you, like in what situations do you get these feelings? Is it like, do you need energy right now or do you need energy later?
Yeah, well, ideally, I would like to have energy all the time, but to me, the frustration is more long term, maybe, right? That if I have this level of energy, this level of tiredness that I have been having for quite some time, it would be very difficult for me to achieve things that are important to me. right? To learn difficult subjects, or be a father I would like to be, or to exercise, certain things. So things I deem to be important are very hard to achieve with this level of energy. And that frustration makes sense. It's
You
more
cut
that
out a
than
little bit at the end, but I got the gist of your yeah, what you were saying. And a good way to go about this is to yeah, to look at what Dhammarato said earlier in this call, and that is, if you take care of your mind right now and just focus on the task that you are doing right now and do that in the most wholesome way that you can do it with the best possible attitude, then the future will take care of itself. And when we are having like hot thoughts about wanting to improve our energy levels, then this is going to actually decrease our energy, because yeah, the body tires because of the unwholesome thoughts that we are having. And I can really notice this, that if I've had like so to say, like a really bad day, then at the end of the day I will be really, really tired, because it takes a lot of energy to be having those kind of thoughts. So when you get into those kind of thinking patterns, it's really useful. Actually, the Buddha, there's a really good point about this in the sutta. And the sutta is about removing unwholesome thoughts. And the Buddha gives a simile here. He says, why run when I can walk? Why walk when I can stand still? Why stand still when I can lay down? So the meaning of this is, it's a lot of energy that you are putting into thinking like this. So see that and consider like how much energy you are putting into having these kind of thoughts. And when you see that, when you see how tired it is making you, then you will automatically decrease the restlessness and decrease the yeah, the thoughts that you are having about this.
absolutely. Yeah, I do also notice that when I have unwholesome thoughts, or my mind is particularly active, has a huge impact on my physical sensations of tiredness. So yeah, we need to be careful about that. Yeah.
Great. Yeah, go play with that. That's a good idea. Carl, I see you had your hand raised up for a short while.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that there's a confusion between tiredness and restlessness. So what we're talking about here is the restlessness of the mind. You're looking to fix so many things. As you said, you want to go on a diet, you have to improve something in your life. And that alone, this processes of constantly trying to solve the issues in your mind is going to get the body very, very tired, because it's not being present. It's not being in a wholesome state. So naturally body exerts more energy because you're trying to fix a million things at the speed of like a second. That's how fast the images, the thoughts, that's how fast things come to you, and you keep trying to fix them in your mind instead of coming down back to the wholesome state and resting the body moves naturally. It regains all the energy it's needed to move. As an example, I would call tiredness is when you go on a hike, you climb up the mountain, and at the top you take this big breath and you're like, finally, the hike is over. I have made it to the top. I can sit down on the top and I can rest for a bit. That's tiredness. But when we get to the top of the mountain and we say, oh, now I have to climb down. Oh, now I have to go get in the car, drive back home, and then have dinner later. That's restlessness. And that's what we're precisely talking here about. It's not so much that your body gets tired, it's your mind tires the body.
Yeah, I think tiredness and restlessness, they have a really strong connection, that they really strengthen each other. Do you see this way too? Carl?
Yes. As I see for myself, tiredness doesn't really exist. It's an attitude. It's an attitude of not recognizing when your body needs rest. Like at the end of the day, when you're laying in the bed, you're recognizing that your calves are sore, your shoulders are a bit stiff, your back is a bit. So you're just recognizing the bodily sensations, what we call tiredness, right? So it's just bodily sensations. But restlessness is an attitude when we lay there and we're trying to fix the issues of tomorrow and thinking, well, we could have done better today. It's very close, but it's not even the same thing in a way. Yeah. Tiredness is more like sensations in the body. Meanwhile, tiredness, thinking, oh, I cannot do meditation, I cannot do this, is actually the mind. It's not the body so much, because you're spending your time up here instead of in the body. And if you were spending time in the body, you could release the sensations. You can enjoy them. You can enjoy being your calves being sore. You can enjoy your shoulders being a bit stiff, and then you can release them. So yeah, it works together.
Yeah, really good. I really agree with that. Thank you for that. Ben, go ahead.
I was just going to add with like practical things in relation to tiredness, things like just as long as you can sort of be satisfied with this moment, but also just consider like, have you drank enough water? Have you eaten? Have you slept? And if you haven't slept and you're physically tired and you have the chance to, just have a nap. You don't need to overthink needing to having something to get rid of. Just lie down and have a nap. Afterwards, you might be brighter. Simple, practical things you can do for the physical tiredness, if you can.
Right, like like we discussed before, managing your energy and going along with the rhythm of your energy is a really good way to go about that if you want to get stuff done. And yeah, changing our attitudes about the work is also really going to help the amount of energy we have to expend. If we think it's a really difficult task and it's going to be really, it's going to give us a lot of trouble, then, and we look like, oh, I don't really want to do it, like I need a lot of energy for it, then that automatically increases the effort that we need to do it. And Dhammarato, of course, talks about this a lot, like having the attitude of a victim versus having the attitude of a winner. Like if you have the winner's attitude, like things become so much easier in life, and that really applies to everything. Carl, go ahead.
I was gonna just say that what we're talking here about, it comes back to the question of the chi. It's essentially the same thing that we're trying to cover. Other than that, like the chi is associated with like a lot of magical terms. Meanwhile, real practice, real wholesome state is an actual thing. You can actually feel your body really releasing the tension. You can feel yourself being more relaxed, and that's what people usually misinterpret for energy inside the body. For chi is just complete relaxation of the body. You're becoming more present of your breath, becoming more present of sensations. Mind is becoming more unified. That's what the question of the chi, I feel like, was answered as well here.
Yeah, it's relaxing the body, as you say, like imagine like how much energy we expend by being so tight. Like it's literally like costing our body energy to be like that, and causing us all sorts of difficulties. And I agree with you, like it's not a magical thing. So thank you for that. And as Dhammarato also says, like the first jhana is just a state of like being really, really, really restful. Like you just feel at ease like all the time. So whatever needs to be done, like yeah, you can do it. And Bhikkhu Buddhadasa also talks about this in his book, that we have the path and the fruits of Anapanasati, but he says that there's also a more general path and fruit in life, especially for lay people, like for the farmers, for the fishermen, and that is to really focus on doing the task that we need to do in the most wholesome way possible, and that this also has as a path and a fruit, and the fruit is that we can do anything that we want to do happily. And Dhammarato talked about this lately, about the art of archery. And this is basically back when Japan was a really militarized state, and you had a lot of trained archers. Around that time, all the wars stopped because the country got unified. And this was around the time that the Zen Buddhism got really popular in Japan. So what they started doing was, instead of trying to hit the targets with archery, they started to focus really on how can I do archery in the most beautiful way possible, in the most wholesome way possible, without trying to hit the target. So they made a whole art out of archery, and when they release the arrow, they don't even look back to see if they hit the target. So the whole drawing they do very, very slowly, very mindfully. And then, well, I don't really know about how archery works, but anyway, they do it in the best way possible. And then you would have like a jury that would look about how you are performing this archery, and they would not judge you on if you hit the target or not, but how much your mind is like immersed into doing the archery. And I think this is a really beautiful way in how we can go about doing anything in life, about how you can go about doing your job. If you're, and this is like an age-old saying, like don't focus on the destination, but focus on the journey. And that's what we're really getting at here, just like enjoying the journey of the work you are doing. That's where you really get the rewards, and not at getting to where you getting to the destination. And when I look back on like many things that I did in my life, it was often like being in the process of getting there. Like it's still unwholesome in a way because I wanted to get somewhere, but I did get a lot of benefit out of like just really enjoying the process. Like for example, going to the gym, like going through the motions, like lifting the weights, eating the food, like maybe that even got me like more satisfaction than seeing myself grow, seeing my body change in the mirror. So I think this applies to a lot of different things in life. And
would we,
this comes,
Daniel,
yes, go ahead.
would we say that everything becomes essentially practice of the Dhamma? So we start to see the Dhamma in the world. We start to see the Dhamma in our actions and in our attitude coming to the dealing with the things. So we really, the work doesn't become work anymore. The work becomes the Dhamma. The work becomes the practice and the fruition of your wholesome state. So the work itself stops mattering in a way, and then it becomes kind of like a fun play, because now you're making yourself feel wholesome while doing it. So it's becoming a joyful thing. Everything's becoming like a play-like quality.
Exactly, like we just try, or we stop getting anywhere. We get in the habit of just arriving and being at home.
And for people who ask, like, how do you get into like a flow state, that is what we call the flow state, essentially, is when everything becomes like a play-like motion instead of having this hardness to it. Everything is just going by itself.
Exactly. Just yeah, that's really the first jhana. Is like being in a state of flow, like reading a good book, watching a good movie, but then in a wholesome way, of course. And it's an interesting point that you brought up. And Bhikkhu Buddhadasa made the following point, and he said, life is the Dhamma, and Dhamma is the life. Or developing life is developing Dhamma, and developing Dhamma is developing life. So that's a really beautiful way, yeah, to put it. Alejandro, go ahead.
I'm curious. First of all, thank you for all the details you are sharing, both Ben, Carl, Daniel. It's very, very helpful. But I'm curious to know, for Carl, who I've just said that, and you, Daniel, also, if you can get into that state of deeply being in the moment and enjoying this small things without having developed that concentration or that strong mind through meditation. It's just a matter of being aware of, okay, it's just about the moment. My restlessness is causing this tiredness. Is just being cognitively aware of it enough, or do you have to have this certain mind that you have built through meditation to try to be able to enjoy those things?
Sorry, I couldn't really hear it that clearly. Is there anyone who could hear it clearly?
No.
Yeah, he's asking if without having the right concentration, can you still be in that wholesome state? And I think I'll add it quickly. Before needing to be concentration is already putting you out into unwholesome state. So the concentration comes from getting yourself into a wholesome state. It doesn't work the other way. First, you need to see that you're getting yourself out in the unwholesome state. Then you drive all the tools, the skill set you have yourself into a wholesome state. And then concentration comes afterwards. You're already in the wholesome state. What you're talking about is not seeing. You're not, I think the word is sati. You're not seeing the unwholesome states. And you're not seeing the thoughts that your mind is providing or images is providing, and you're getting yourself into restlessness, where your mind is running and telling yourself, I'm not a good meditator, I'm not concentrating. And you're trying to fix all these little things instead of bringing yourself back into a nice relaxed state and letting the mind take care of itself, letting the mind to put you in that like flow state as we're talking about here. Yeah.
Yeah, oh, sorry, go ahead, Alejandro.
Oh, I see that theoretically, like, but I don't know. I find it very hard to relax when the mind is constantly wandering, which again is an effect of thought. It's not helping.
Well, can you take a breath right now and just like?
Yeah, let's all take a deep breath right now.
Can you take another one?
Breath by
and
breath.
then another one, and just keep going, and then another one. And now take another breath, and just feel that breath. Just keep taking the breaths. That's what we're focusing here. Just keep taking deep breaths. Do you feel better? You already feel a bit better, right? So that's what we're trying to focus, is on this sensation of this pleasure to drive the mind into that nice and wholesome state. And if you see something come up, you just take another breath and don't worry about it right now. Tell yourself not to worry about it. Just take another breath.
One thing I would like to add, what I have been experimenting with myself, is that when I feel mentally tired And this is usually a result of like a hindrance, like I'm bored, I'm disinterested, anything like that. Then a really good way to get yourself out of that state is to count your blessings. Because this really helps to get the positive feelings going. Because when you're in that disinterested state, I find that personally, like I can think like, oh yeah, everything's all right, and things like that. But that in that state, it's maybe a little bit less effective than counting my blessings. Because when I count my blessings, then I start to realize like, oh, actually, it's not that uninteresting, this moment. Actually, this moment is good enough. So what I do is I start thinking like, well, at least I'm not sick right now. Because being sick, that's really, really awful. Or at least I don't have to use public transport right now. At least I'm not on a journey right now. A really busy bus ride. Or I'm alive. Yeah, sometimes that's good enough. Yeah, at least I'm not dead. Like this is better than being dead. And yeah, for me, this really, really helps to get that positivity going again. So like thoughts like everything's all right already. Like that's why we say to play with it. Like it's not really like you have to use this thought in this situation and that thought in that situation. But some thoughts, yeah, you find out for yourself that some thoughts help better in some situations than in other. Like everything's all right already. That really helps me when I have like this free floating anxiety, like just this general feeling that something is wrong. Like a sense of impending doom. That if I don't do something, then something's really gonna go wrong. So yeah, you can experiment with that for yourself and see maybe if that helps. And your question that you asked before, what I would like to add is that just because we're not paying attention doesn't necessarily mean we're in a unwholesome state. However, it means that if we just let the mind do its thing, it will end up in an unwholesome state for a while. I kind of lost my train of thought where I was going with that. But yeah, if you develop the 4 kinds of right efforts, yeah, this will get you into a wholesome state for sure. And when you notice that you're not paying attention, that's the moment that you wake up. So congratulate yourself for waking up, and you can make a change. But sometimes we find that actually we woke up, but we were having really wholesome thoughts. And then we can, yeah, so then we can see like, oh, I was having really wholesome thoughts. So yeah, sometimes we really get into that habit of like, oh, we should be paying attention, but we were not paying attention. But actually, if you can see that you were having wholesome thoughts, then you can just congratulate yourself for it. And then you're like, wow, I wasn't even paying attention. And even though I wasn't paying attention, like I was apparently already in a habit of being wholesome, at least in that moment. So let me celebrate that. Let me be really happy that I found myself in a really happy state. And let me continue that. So yeah, that's how I use it. Is there anything else that someone would like to share today? Anything else to add to this topic?
How is the focusing on the tip of your tongue? How is that technique going for you?
To be honest, I haven't really needed it in the last week because I've been feeling really, really good. But it's been really effective for me. Like in the past. So have you given it a try since it's stuck in your mind? Maybe you've given it a try.
I've just tried it throughout the day, but not during like some big hindrance. I don't feel too many big hindrances these days. So I have yet
Perfect.
to, yeah,
Yeah.
yet to see if it works or not, but I'm not sure how it would work, but
Yeah.
it's
Actually,
interesting.
this is I'm glad you brought this up because Alejandro, if you are having a lot of unwholesome thoughts about wanting more energy or about needing to get work done, then this is a way that I found that's really, really helpful in calming your mind and also getting energy. And actually, the monastery that I am at right now, there's a teacher here, a Thai teacher, and he's been a monk for like 30 years. And he says that when your mind is like really restless, then try this. And I tried it and it really, really works for me. And basically what you do is, and you only do this when you're like really restless, is you sit down, you just focus on the tip of your tongue. You don't have to place it anywhere in particular, just somewhere where it's comfortable. Some people like to put it at the roof of their mouth. Some people just kind of let it float. And when you are focusing on that, this place of the tongue, this tip of the tongue, is a really coarse, like a really big sensation. So it's really easy to keep your mind there. And if you do it for a few minutes, then you will see that still these unwholesome thoughts are coming up. And what you will do is you just, whenever an unwholesome thought comes up, you just think, I don't have to think about that right now. Let me just pay a little bit of attention to the tip of my tongue. And a little bit, this is an important point. Because if we try to focus like really hard, then we are tiring our mind and we are getting ourselves into a state of fight or flight. Like your body associates this really intense focus. I can associate that with the fight or flight, and this can cause some adrenaline to come up. So you just focus really lightly on the tip of your tongue, and whenever a hindrance comes up, you just don't have to think about that right now. And then within a few minutes, you can feel the piti and the sukha coming up. So when I've gotten myself into a really, really restless state, then this helped me get out of it in just a few minutes. And I just do it like just enough to get out of it, and then I start practicing like I do normally. So the Buddha recommends, for example, for really strong, like unwholesome states, to clench your jaws and bite down and press your tongue into the roof of your mouth and like tense up your muscles. So this is also something you can experience with. Like for me, that I don't really like doing that. So this is what I do instead. So you can experiment with this technique. And I will share this sutta because there's actually a few other things we discussed today that are also mentioned in the sutta. For example, the simile of like, why run when you can walk? Why walk when you can stand? So in this sutta, there are 5 ways mentioned to get rid of these unwholesome thoughts. And 2 of them we have not discussed here. So it's really good to read through this sutta. So I will share this after the call. So, if is there anyone else who would like to add some final things, some last things before we end the call? Okay, so nobody has anything to add. So then I think this is a good time to end the call. So thank you very much, everybody. I really enjoyed this, and really good seeing
Thank
you
you,
all here
guys.
today. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, take care, everybody. Bye bye.
Cheers.
Cheers.